Good morning, everyone. Or shall I say, well, it's still morning. It's 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock my time. Well, you want to be precise. It's 10:18 a.m. my time. Please forgive the way I look. I didn't get pretty for you, but I did get dressed, so that counts. I don't know where to begin. I wanted to do this today because I had put out a notice that I was going to start dropping videos and shorts on Thursday. And well, today, from my calculations, is Thursday. And so here I will be. I had once talked about doing segments, like, not segments, so to speak, but like, I guess you can technically call them segments, but parts of my journey, because it's a long one. It's 11 years worth of information. It's 11 years worth of growth. It's 11 years worth of being disabled, and 11 years worth of different symptoms. The one thing that is an absolute guarantee and promise with CRPS is that it will change. It changes all the time. It's changing as I'm sitting here talking to you all. And that is the one thing that is a guarantee. It changes. Let me give you an example. It changes throughout the day. It changes throughout the week. It changes throughout the month, the year. It is always on a mission, and you never know where it's going to go next. That's the scary part. And I will say this, the other promise that is a guarantee is you will never find one of us the same. Anybody and everybody who is living with CRPS understands what I mean by that. We're not the same. And so if you're a newborn, and that's what we call our unfortunate ones that have been diagnosed with CRPS and have had it less than a year or maybe less than 2, the first 3 years of your life is hell on earth. Not to mention living with it in general is hell on earth, but the first 3 years, it's really complicated and scary and confusing and lonely and desperate. Because like I said, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, and some of us, like myself, will have a lot of symptoms at one time, and so with that, we are easily diagnosed, where there are others who will get symptoms throughout years. I vape, by the way. It's just nicotine, so if you see me hit it, I apologize. But CRPS affects everyone differently. And like I said, there's some like myself that will have multiple symptoms, which makes it easier for doctors that are trained and know what to look for to diagnose you. And then you have doctors that have never heard of it, that don't believe it's real. And these poor individuals end up going to those doctors. And those doctors obviously don't believe in CRPS, so they're not going to diagnose their patient correctly. And with that being said, these poor individuals will go on years and years trying to figure out what's going on with them, not understanding what is happening, scared and confused beyond belief because they have no idea. When you are diagnosed with something, at least you know what it is. And there are lots and lots of information. There are studies that are done every year on CRPS because there are good doctors out there. There are doctors out there that actually believe in it, that study it, that are trying to figure it out, that are trying to give their patients as much relief with any treatments that they can. You will hear me talk a lot about the medical field. You will hear me talk a lot about doctors because, again, being a person, and there are others out there that have had it a lot longer than I have, and they still don't know what's going on with them because they did not have the right doctors in their corner. They did not have the right tools to educate themselves with. And I have met many that have had it longer than me and still don't understand how I cope the way I do, how I'm able to get through a day, a minute, an hour, how I know what I know. And it's because I have the right doctors. Now, mind you, When you are diagnosed with CRPS, you are on doctor's care the rest of your life. You are on medications and treatments the rest of your life. And I will tell you this, I was not always lucky, okay? So I get it. I understand the frustrations of not having good doctors. I understand the frustrations of doctors telling you it's all in your head. My first year, I'm going to tie this because it's bothering me. My first year, I seen 23 different doctors in my first year. In my first year alone. And I had a couple of them doctors tell me it was all in my head, that they were going to send me to a psych therapist. Well, guess what? I have one, and she believes me, and she works with me, and she's amazing. And so I understand the frustration. Mine was caused by a work injury, and it was also a workman's comp case. So anyone of my warriors that are on workman's comp, I was on it for 9 years. And I understand the frustrations of that as well. But I also got smart in my third year by getting lawyers. And I had lawyers in my back pocket the rest of the time I was on it. And every time comp tried to diddly-do, my lawyers jumped on the case and got the job done. So I understand the frustrations of not having good doctors. I understand the frustrations of trying to find a doctor that knows or understands what it is that you're talking about. We are not trained to describe our symptoms in medical terms. So when you have a patient that comes to you and they're trying to describe to you what their body is doing, and you look at them like you have no idea what they're talking about, shame on you. You are going to hear me talk about doctors that are pointless. They should not be doctors. They should not be out there putting their hands on another. And then you will also hear me talk about the doctors that are amazing. When I was diagnosed very early on. Like I said, 2 weeks after my injury, I was diagnosed with CRPS. The doctor I had worked for Concentra, and Concentra is just a medical institution where employers will send their employees when they get hurt on the job. So they're basically a pain management doctor. They're basically a doctor that gives you ibuprofen and a brace and crutches. That's what type of doctors they are. But you also will find ones that do work for Concentra. They're not a dime a dozen, but there are some good ones in there. I had physical therapy my first 3 years, almost 4 years, and I maxed it out because there's nothing more that physical therapy can do for me. And my physical therapist, she was amazing. They all were. When she wasn't there, I would have a substitute step in, and they were all very amazing, and it was through Concentra. So you do find some good doctors. You just have to know where to look. But like I said, I did have my share of quacks. And I have no filter, guys. You all know I say it how it is. And if I think that a doctor is not being professional, I will call them out on it. In fact, I reported one. And come to find out, I wasn't the first one that reported this doctor. I hope and pray that he is not practicing anymore, because he should not be a doctor, period. So I will, you're going to hear me talk about my diagnosis. You're going to hear me talk about symptoms I had in the beginning and now. I've been living with it now for 11 years. And you also will hear me talk about how CRPS is not for the weak. It takes a strong individual to get through. And sadly, over the years, we have had some falling warriors that just could not cope any longer. and they thought there was only one way out, and that was the way they took. I try very hard to be there for my warriors. I try to be a motivation for them. I try to be an inspiration. I try to set a good example for them, because I don't want any of my warriors to fall. I don't want them to think there's only one way and one answer, when really it's just a permanent answer to a temporary situation. And by no means am I calling CRPS a temporary situation, because it is not. Some of us have deformities like myself. CRPS causes other issues with the body as well, especially when you develop a deformity due to the CRPS. That deformity can cause other health problems for the body. We have had warriors have amputation. We have had warriors in waiting for amputation. I have not, and I've opted out of it for personal reasons, because I've done my research and I've done my homework, and I'm already limited. I have limitations already, and complications and obstacles, and I didn't want to limit myself any more than I already am. And so I've opted out of a surgery for SCS, and I know some warriors have had this surgery where they end up having more problems due to it. In fact, I just had a warrior not too long ago have it done. And I pray every day that it's going to work for her. For you that don't know what an SCS is, it's a stimulator that's implanted within the body. If you have ever been to physical therapy and they used a machine on you called a TENS unit, it's basically the same thing, but it's inside the body. I have had warriors have to have theirs removed because of complications due to it. So there's a lot that goes on with living with CRPS. I know my channel, I'm not here to scare you, like I've told you guys 1,000 times. My channel is for educational purposes only. My channel is to motivate others. My channel is to inform others. Again, what I bring to the table is everything that I've ever went through in the past 11 years with this. It's information that I have learned from my doctors. I have an amazing medical team now. I did not have them my first year because, like I said, my first year I had 23 different doctors. And out of those 23, probably only 2 were any good. I didn't get my medical team until my second year. And I didn't get my psych therapist until about 4 years ago. So the medical team I have now is amazing. My doctor, he listens to me. He understands. We talk about me as a team. He doesn't talk at me. He talks with me. My psych therapist, she is amazing. We don't just focus on the CRPS and the pain and all that, but we focus on me as a whole person, because that's what I am. My CRPS is not different. It doesn't come off at night. I don't set it on a shelf. It's me. I am CRPS. Yes, my name is Tammy, but I'm also someone who lives with an incurable disease. CRPS is an incurable disease. CRPS is known as the rare disease. And I bunny ear that because every time I hear that, I want to laugh hysterically. It is not rare, okay? I don't know if when people say rare, it makes them feel special, because usually rare objects are something that's beautiful and you don't hardly ever see it or know about it, and it's just mysterious. That is what I think of when I hear the word rare. We are not rare. CRPS is not new. If you do your homework, you will find out. In fact, my community not too long ago was doing some research on it, and we found out actually that it goes back further than we thought it did. We were always under the impression, because this is what we have heard over the years, that it was developed in the 1800s during the Civil War. We found out actually that that is not completely true. Now, mind you, the information we found out is not in the United States, but it is in Spain. And there were 2 cases found, and there might have been more, but we found 2 that actually was from the 1700s. I'm sorry, if you have a disease that's been around that long, we're not rare. We are only rare, as some like to call us, because nobody talks about it. Nobody is listening. You have very few doctors that bust their humps to try to figure it out, and my hat goes off to them. But they are fighting a battle alone, just like we are, because not every medical professional is on the same page. And I can promise you, if you were to take all of the doctors from all over the world and say the word cancer to them, they would all be on the same page. They'd be like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But if you took that same group of doctors and brought up CRPS, about half, if not more, would roll their eyes at you. And it's sad. And the reason why I think some of them are so ignorant to it is because our disease is not found under a microscope. It is not found in x-rays. It is not found in blood work. I don't know if I can say that here, sorry. You can't find us anywhere. And the few doctors that are trained to recognize CRPS, there's very few of them. And that's sad. Doctors that are trained to know what to look for, like I said, you can't find our disease under a microscope lens. But some of the symptoms that happens with the body, you can see with a naked eye. And that's the sad thing, because if you are physically able to see it on a person, that there enough should be enough to tell you something is not right. But because you can't see it underneath your microscope lens, it's not real. How ironic is that? When it is being shown in front of you, right here, I can feel it, I can see it. That's real to me. As real as a hand in front of my face. But because you can't see that under a microscope, it's not real to you. That's a little backwards, don't you think? I mean, if I can physically see something in front of me, it's very real. Just like you watching me on your phone or your TV, it's real. That is the problem we are having, and that is why I work so hard to share my story wherever I can. And I know it's going to take time, and you know what? I really hope that it gets recognized before my time here is done. I don't know when that will be. I don't know how that will be, but I really hope that one day my words make a difference. There is one thing that a lot of warriors probably don't know. And when I was diagnosed with it, I had a lot, I was like running off questions. Like, I don't think I even gave the doctor that diagnosed me time to answer one before I had another, because it was devastating to me. When he diagnosed me, like I said, I went in, I had many, many symptoms. And I knew something wasn't right a week and a half after my injury. Something was wrong. Something wasn't working. There was just, it was a knee injury. And the symptoms I was having had no relation to the knee. Made no sense to me. I didn't understand it. I was confused. And so I took lots of pictures. I showed pictures to the doctor, plus he examined me as well. So I had the proof there. And when he told me what I had, I was like, okay, when will it clear up so I can go back to work? And I will never forget that day as long as I live, because that day was devastating to me. That day changed my life forever. And he simply looked at me and said, "You're not." He says, "I don't think you're quite understanding me." And he proceeded to tell me that I was going to have a long, bumpy road, which he was not wrong. My second question to him was, will it kill me? And his answer wasn't yes and it wasn't no. He simply looked at me and said, well, and now mind you, this was back in 2014. I round up. I'm going on 11 years. It's 11 years this year. And he said, well, as of now, there have been no known deaths related to CRPS. Now, that was in 2014. In 2017, like I said, there are studies coming out every year. There's multiple studies because it's so different in everybody. There's a lot of different types of studies that you can find. And so in 2017, I decided one day to do some research, to do some homework, because it had been a minute since I read anything about it. And I went and did my Google search, and I came across my information. And unfortunately, in 2017, there were deaths related to CRPS. Because CRPS doesn't only affect our outer, it also, because it's in our nervous system, it can affect the internal organs, everything. And that does include the heart. And it does include your breathing. And it includes everything. You as a whole person, everything about you. It affects our senses, which is our sight, our smell, our taste, sound. We are hypersensitive to touch. So my clothes right now are 11 years ago, this would have hurt me really bad. But I've desensitized myself, and I've really never stopped being me when it comes to taking care of myself. Now, mind you, there are days where it's very hard, and then there are days where it's just not feasible. But I never stopped desensitizing. I never stopped the way I bathe and stuff like that. Mind you, some of my clothes have had to change over the years because of the sensitivity to touch, to pressure, to just everything. It's very hard to explain to somebody who doesn't understand. And that is why I keep sharing. That is why I keep talking. That is why I keep showing up, because I'm hoping one day that people will just get it. That people will want to ask questions, that people will want to understand. And it's really sad because, and I might get a little emotional today. I've been emotional up and down all morning, but it's really sad when family, you find out a lot about people you thought you already knew. And you find out a lot about people. And you find out a lot about their true colors and just how much you really mean to them. And it's sad because, let's face it, about 95% of people in our life is family. And it's really sad when family walk away, when they don't want to hear you, when they don't want to learn what it is that they don't care to know. They're just not interested. They're tired of hearing you talk about it. They're tired of hearing about it, period. They just don't want to listen. It's sad. Because living with CRPS is a very lonely condition. I did not want to get emotional. My my ESA, Mr. Bubby, he's sleeping right now, but if he sees me crying, he might want to come up here. It's a very lonely condition for so many reasons. CRPS can take a person who was a very outgoing individual and turn them into a very isolated person. CRPS takes away a lot. It steals a lot from us. It changes us no matter how hard you try to be you. Unfortunately, you're never going to be the person you once were. You have to change in order to coexist. You have to change in order to live your best life as a disabled person. And I often tell my warriors all the time that you are not dead, you are disabled, and that you can still live your best life. It's just going to be a little different. And different can be scary. The unknown is always scary. I don't know what later on today is going to be like. I don't know what 5 minutes from now is going to be like, because CRPS can be one way 1 minute and a total different way another minute. You can't make plans anymore. And I think the hardest part for me is the holidays, because I was always a holiday planner. I wanted, I have 3 girls and I have 11 grandbabies, and I was always want my kids around me. And I still do. I don't get to see them as much as I like now, but I'm very family oriented, and my kids, I breathe better when I have my kids around. My grandkids are my world, and it makes it really hard to play with them, because kids don't understand. Chloe, my granddaughter, because of my deformity, I have a drop foot. My right foot's drop foot, which means I walk ballerina, which means I walk on tiptoes on one side. And so, and she says to me, when she was little, she asked me, Mimi, why do you walk like that? And I, she's little, so you can't get into like detail with her. And I would just tell her, Mimi's foot's broken. It doesn't go down like the other one. And just recently, she asked me again, Mimi, why are you still walking like that? Is your foot still broken? Is it gonna get better? And I explained to her, no, honey, it's not gonna get better. That's how it is. And I've gone to my doctors about, I would love so badly to be able to walk like I used to. And I've gone to my doctor several times about surgery, and my doctor, he said, I'm not going to put you through that, because the treatments we get, the surgeries we have, they're not a guarantee. And he didn't want to put me through that type of agony. And I even went to my doctor about amputation. And of course, my doctor, he's not an amputee. And he said, well, that is a whole new different game. We'd have to bring in an amputee. You'd have to talk to them. Because I figured this way. If it was gone and I had a prosthetic, at least I could walk like a normal person. It's very hard to go out in public because people stare. And not only that, but I get tired quickly. So going out shopping, I'm limited to what I can do. Now, mind you, I don't baby myself, and I don't allow anyone to baby me. I get up and I do what I can. I have to break my day down, because just to get up and, that's just not feasible. And so when you live with CRPS, this is the one thing I talk to my warriors a lot about, is you have to break down your day. And I learned this from my therapist, because I'm the person that would push myself. If I'm trying to get something done, I want to get it done. And I would push myself to the point where I would be in bed for a day or two after. And my therapist, she's always coming up with different things to help me. And the one thing I learned from her is I have to break my day down into segments. And if I'm doing something, I must take breaks. And it was hard in the beginning. It really was. But then, after a while, my body just got used to it, and there I was. And so your whole life has to change. Like I said, you're under doctor's care all the time. Every few months you go in for treatments. You're on medication throughout the day. A lot of things change. And as the time goes on, the disease goes on. So like I said, I don't know. My life is the unknown. My days are the unknown. I never know what's gonna happen from minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day. And so, like I said, I could be fine 1 minute and the next minute not so much. Makes it hard, but as long as you are a strong person, and that's strong-minded, strong-willing, stubborn as hell, because if you allow, and I did my first 3 years, it was horrible. So I understand that dark place, because I was there. And that is the one thing I, try to explain to people, that your loved one needs you more than you know. Even if it seems like we are pushing you away, we're not pushing you away. We're trying to push away the pain. We're trying to push away the frustration of it all. We're trying to be as normal as we possibly can. And what a lot of people don't understand is, we're not this round, we're this peg that is trying to fit, that is trying to be crammed into this round, perfect world where we don't fit. And the world does not make it easy for disabled people. It is not designed, it is not set up, it is not equipped for people like myself. And that is the one thing I want to change. I want to change that. Everybody else has been given the opportunity to fit into this world. There have been accommodations made for other disabilities so they can fit into this world and live out their best life, because they have the accommodations they need. We don't. There are institutions that do medical studies and all this stuff for other diseases. We don't. the studies you find about us is studies that people like myself have done. And they take down they ask you these questions, and you give them, and they conform all of these answers together on top of all of the doctor notes from doctors that have tried to figure it out, or have patients, or have, done whatever they could do. That is how all of this comes about. But this world does not accommodate CRPS at all. And it's not fair. It's not fair to have to try to be shoved into a world, this round, perfect world, when you are this square peg that nobody wants to play with because you don't fit in. Nobody wants to help you because you don't fit in. Nobody cares to know your story because you don't fit in. If I had cancer, I promise you I'd have more support than I do now. I'd have loved ones coming out of the walls. I get it. I get it. I do. Nobody wants to hear about it. Nobody cares to hear about it. And what loved ones don't get, CRPS can kill you. It can end my life whenever it decided to. It could cause more internal damage than I already have. But nobody wants to hear it because they don't care to hear it. It's boring to them. Or because it can't be looked underneath a microscope, that lens, that truth finder, they don't believe you. Some of the symptoms that we have, you couldn't make them up because they don't make any sense. So that's why I do what I do. That's why I try to talk about it. I share my story. I dedicated my platform to it and to my journey. I dedicated my Facebook, anywhere I can go and share my story and get it out there, and maybe hopefully one day make a difference. That is what matters to me. That I open the eyes of loved ones that have been so blind, and make them see, make them notice that their loved one, their warrior, needs them more than you'll ever know. So, with that being said, I am going to end this right here. And like I said, I will be up here every Thursday. I try to drop as many shorts throughout the week as I can, depending on how I'm feeling, depending on how my day or my week is going. But my videos, I want to try to get more up here. You all seem to enjoy the shorts. I hope you take the time to sit and really just hang out and watch the videos. And hopefully, and I will tell you, my videos are never going to be the same. There are going to be days where I really don't want to be up here, but I'm doing it because I need to. I am very transparent and I have no filter. So you're warned. You've been warned. But I do hope that this somehow makes a difference, and I do hope that any warriors out there, that you are not alone, and I'm here and I will listen, and just know that you're not alone. And I know it feels like it. Trust me, I know that. I know. But there's no judgment here. You know, we can learn from each other. There's so many of us, and we are so different in so many ways, but yet we're still the same. And we've learned a lot from each other's stories, and um, we have a private community on Facebook, formerly known as CRPS Warriors 2024. That's what we're formerly known as you can see, or maybe you haven't noticed, but my channel is no longer called that. It's been revived to Tammy's Journey, My Truth. And our community is no longer called that on Facebook. It is called Our Journey. So we have a community over there with such amazing people in it. And if you were a warrior that you just, maybe you've been recently diagnosed, or maybe you're even a loved one, we are a mixed community over there. I don't just, you know, you can be a loved one that's looking for answers. And that is why we are a mixed community, because I want loved ones to ask questions, learn from other people, because we have had a lot of warriors where their partners, their family, their loved ones don't believe them. And that is why I created a community that is a mixed community, because it's real. And if you have hundreds of people coming to you and saying, no, this is real, maybe it'll sink into friends and family that don't believe. So in the meantime, I'm going to get off here. I wish you all an amazing day. All you wonderful mothers out there, happy Mother's Day. Mother's Day is on Sunday, so don't forget to hug your mom and tell her how much she means to you. Unfortunately, I no longer have my mom here, so Sunday's not going to be a good day for me. I will probably spend the day in bed. But for the rest of you, I wish you all an amazing Mother's Day. Cherish your moms, love on her, and spoil her. It's her day. The rest of my warriors out there, know you're not alone. Know that there are communities on Facebook. There are people here that believe you. I believe you. I live with it myself. And sorry about getting emotional. But just know that you're not alone. Know that, hands down, you have a friend. You have a friend in me. So anyway, I'm going to go. Have a great day. I wish you all an amazing rest of your week. Have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful moms out there. And I will talk to you all again real soon. Until then, ciao for now. Bye.